Good afternoon, my name is Kelly Mock, and I would like to talk to you about how we could add $12 trillion to the world's annual GDP by the year 2025, as well as add $4.3 trillion to our nation's annual GDP in that same decade. According to publications such as CNBC and PBS, our nation is currently facing a recession. Taxes are beginning to rise and jobs are becoming scarce, and our nation is looking for a solution. Well, I have one. We need to close the gender wage gap that is currently facing our society and has been facing our society for decades, not just in our nation, but all over the world. Women make up 50% of the world's population and 46% of this nation's workforce. However, we only contribute 1/5 to the world's annual GDP. This is attributed to the fact that women hold only 2/5 of the high-paying, higher-end jobs,
as well as only 3% of CEOs in the US being women. However, this is not the only contributing factor.
But also contributed to the fact that the women in those positions are making 28% less than the men in the same positions under the same employers with the same amount of education. Now, many publications, like The Atlantic, have research showing that it's not a wage gap, but a job gap that we are facing, showing that the 60% of women in the lower-paying part-time jobs are choosing those jobs over higher-paying full-time jobs, as well as women choosing to leave their full-time jobs because of family, such as having a baby or getting married. Their argument states that it isn't that women are being paid less, but that women are choosing different jobs, and therefore the real gap is the difference between the jobs women are holding and the jobs men are holding. When viewed from this perspective, the wage gap does disappear in some circumstances. However, the idea that life choices are the reason for the wage gap is in fact an oversimplification in itself. Although it is true that 60% of women do hold lower-paying part-time jobs, it is unfair to say that women choose to leave their jobs because of family reasons, such as having a child. In many circumstances, women are making less in their jobs than it takes to pay for the childcare they need, because their jobs do not offer the flexibility in hours for them to have the job as well as take care of their family. Not to mention, as a man with the same amount of experience and the same employer are actually making 28% less than the man in that same position. There is also evidence showing that when a woman enters a workforce that is primarily male, the pay rate in that work declines, and this alternately applies to positions held by women. When a man enters them, the pay rates go up. When women began working in parks or managing camps, the overall hourly wages declined by 57%. Not to mention the US women's soccer team, which is just a conundrum in itself. The US women's soccer team brought in $20 million more than the men's soccer team did in the year 2015, as well as winning the 2015 World Cup, where the men did not make it anywhere close to the World Cup. However, the women's US soccer team only made 25% what the men's US soccer team made in the year 2015. Here you see the difference in pay. The men lost in the first round of the World Cup and made $8 million, while the women's team won the entire World Cup and only made $2 million. This brings me back to my central point. If women were making the dollar to the man's dollar rather than 79 cents to the man's dollar, we would be making more money to therefore put back into the economy by buying goods and services, and in return raising our GDP and taking our nation out of this recession. We will continue to face an unnecessary recession time and time again until this problem is resolved. Of course, we will always face recessions for different reasons, but it seems completely unnecessary to face one when we have a solution staring us right in the face. Thank you. I hope you have a fantastic day.